Hello, my name is Chloe and welcome back to my channel. I'm a C4 to 5 incomplete quadriplegic, and in this video I'm going to be talking about the sensations that I have in my body after my injury. Let's start with the definition of a quadriplegic. Google search it and it will tell you paralysis of all four limbs, which is a little bit misleading, especially in my circumstance, as I have movement and sensation below my level of injury. Simply put, the term quadriplegic simply means any damage of the cervical spinal column. And in my circumstance, it was the 4th and 5th vertebrae on the cervical spine. But my injury wasn't incomplete, meaning that my spinal cord wasn't completely severed, which gave me movement and sensation below my level of injury. But the question isn't necessarily what I can feel, it's how I can feel it, as certain sensations feel different. And this is where it gets really complicated, so I apologize in advance if none of this makes sense, as a spinal cord injury is very complicated and trying to explain certain sensations is quite difficult. Let's start from the top and work our way down. My spinal cord was the 4th and 5th vertebrae, and I have titanium plates in the back of my neck where they fused the break in my neck. I can feel where I broke my neck, and I can feel the 2 spots lower down in my back where I broke my back in 2 places. And my back is extremely sensitive, probably one of the most sensitive spots on my entire body, probably because of the multiple breaks in my back. And also I have a little bit of scoliosis in my back, and this makes my back bend a little bit the wrong way. And now let's talk about my hands. What can I feel? My right hand is my dominant hand. I have mostly full function and full sensation of my right hand. My little finger does not straighten, and that's because I broke my wrist when I had my accident. And the sensation that I have in my hand is pretty much normal to an able-bodied person, but the sensation of hot and cold is very different. My hand might feel really hot, but it might be really cold, or it might feel cold, but it's actually really hot. So it's really hard to distinguish the difference with my right hand. But my left hand is a little bit more complicated. When I had my accident, I acquired a brain injury. So the left side of my body has a lot less movement than the right side. That's because I damaged the right side of my brain. So I have a lot less sensation in my left hand and a lot less movement. I have less sensation in my left thumb than I do in my right thumb. And as you can see, a lot less movement. And the biggest difference with my left hand compared to my right hand is that my left hand does not register pain. So I can hit anything as hard as I want with my left hand and it does not hurt. But this is where I have to be really careful, because I could break a finger and I would probably feel it, but I wouldn't register the pain. And certain sensations feel different in both hands. So, to demonstrate, I have a comb. This I can feel. I can feel that it's stroking my hand. But when we swap hands, this feels a lot stronger. I can feel this a lot more in my right hand. It feels pretty much the same as what an able-bodied person would feel in their hands. And I register pain a lot more in this hand, and I have arthritis, which makes all sorts of other problems, and especially with my hypermobile fingers. And now let's talk about my abdomen and my insides. I can feel inside my abdomen. And to answer the question about sex, yes, I can feel it, and yes, I can have sex. I can feel everything on the inside, but I have more sensation on the outside, such as clitoral stimulation, which is how I would reach orgasm. But I can't do that on the inside because I have a lot less sensation inside than on the outside. And last year I had a vaginal hysterectomy, and the recovery was so much better than I thought it was going to be. But that was because the doctors misunderstood how much I would feel on the inside. and I can feel the sensation of doing a number 2 and a number 1. And now let's talk about my legs, which is where the sensation gets really weird. When I had my accident, I broke both of my femurs. My right femur was damaged pretty bad. I basically shattered it, and I now have a hematoma in my right leg. I have a small one in my left leg, but the right leg is a noticeable bump. And the sensation of hot and cold in my femurs and in the upper parts of my legs and thighs. I don't feel the cold that much on my left leg, but on my right leg, I will feel it. But when the sensation goes from cold to hot, that's when I have to be careful, because in the middle of winter, if I have a heated blanket on my lap, it might get too hot and I might not feel that it's getting too hot. And this can cause a heat rash, it can cause high blood pressure, it can cause a whole lot of other problems because of my spinal cord injury and because I can't feel the heat as much as an able-bodied person can. And now let's get to my knees. My left knee is a lot more sensitive than my right knee, but my right knee has more sensation than my left. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but that's the way that I feel my knees. Because of my hypermobility, my left kneecap doesn't really sit in place properly, and it can dislocate really easily if my leg is moved in the wrong position. And thankfully, in the last 13 years that I've been in a wheelchair, my left kneecap has only popped out once. And the sensation of hot and cold in my knees. My left knee will feel the cold, but my right knee will be more affected by the cold. I don't know how else to explain that. This could be because of my hypermobile kneecap, but I have no idea. And now let's get down to my feet. My right foot has more sensation than my left foot, but my left foot will feel pain more than my right foot. And I have more sensation underneath my feet than I do on top of my feet. If I have my foot on the floor and somebody stands on my foot, I'm going to feel that a lot less than if somebody pushes against the bottom part of my foot. I hope that makes sense. And with my left foot, my heel gets this weird tingly feeling pretty much all the time. So right now that I'm talking to you, I can feel these little tingly feelings underneath my heel. It's similar to the feeling of getting a dead leg. That tingly feeling when the circulation is starting to come back, I get that all the time. And I get a lot more pain underneath my feet on my left foot than I do on my right foot. Partly because I have a lot less circulation in my left foot than I do in my right foot. My right leg has a lot more movement than my left leg, and my right leg has a lot more circulation. But this is when we go back to the feeling of hot and cold. In the middle of summer, my feet will swell up like balloons. But in the middle of winter, they'll swell up but not quite as much. And my feet hurt a lot more when they're hot than they do when they're cold. And when my feet are really hot, my left foot, which is the one I have less sensation in, hurts a lot more. I really hope that my explanation has answered the question about what I can feel, and if it didn't make much sense, I really apologize. I am trying to explain this to the best of my ability, but like I said, a spinal cord injury is so complicated and every single spinal cord injury is different. This is only what I feel and the sensations that I have in my body. But if you have any other questions, please write it in the comments. And if you like this video, please be sure to give it a big thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed already, please do. Thank you so much for watching. I love you all, and I will see you next week.